Today, I have the great pleasure of talking with Rocco Lombardo, who is the president of Wilson Daniels, a very well-known sales, marketing, and distribution company, a company that whose wines I have enjoyed for many years. So, Rocco, welcome. And by the way, thank you also this past year for having been a supporter of Come Over October.
Well, it's great to see you again, Karen, and we're excited to be part of it.
Yeah. I want to start with a kind of disarmingly simple question, which is, why do you drink wine?
Well, for me personally, it goes back to my cultural roots. I am first generation Italian American, growing up in a family that immigrated here from Sicily. There was wine on the table as far as I can remember, albeit different types of wines through the years. It wasn't wine similar to the portfolio we have today. There were large formats of Bartolino and Suave back in those days, and some flasks of Chianti Classico. But I drink wine because it's been part of what's defined being an immigrant from Italy, and it's defined a lot of my best cultural experiences.
I think everyone listening, including me right now, everyone who is not Italian wishes that they were Italian for that very reason. I mean, as an Irish person, I'm so envious of the Italians. I would have loved to have grown up with wine on the table every since my first memories. But you just mentioned the word culture, and I know that you have a value system within Wilson Daniels that says that you're committed to helping, to enforcing, to enriching the culture of wine in America. So why is wine so important culturally?
As I said, I was brought up in an environment where a family that dines together, stays together. It was part of all of our experiences, no matter if it was going to be holidays or just Friday night dinners. I think drinking wine as part of a meal is important with regards to social interaction. Wine, the enjoyment of wine is just not the essence of consuming the wine. The enjoyment of wine is experiential. It's a place, it's a person you're with. And for me, I think that culture can be shared by anybody. You don't have to be an Italian American whose family immigrated here. Wine is made all over the world, and fortunately for us in America, we have access to all of the wines from the more famous wine growing regions. But I think it enhances the experience of interacting with somebody over a dinner, and I also think it complements food very well.
Yeah, of course, I agree with you. I'm wondering what we can do to to establish that kind of culture more strongly in America, to to get people to see, in a sense, that wine, a beverage of togetherness, is enriching to a culture. Because as you know, it's a big country, and there's so many people, I think, who don't realize that yet.
Well, I think there's another element to wine itself, and farming is something that is very important. Farming practices, agricultural practices in America. We're a very strong production country as well. 70% of all the wines consumed originate here in America. I think it's important for us to communicate the raw essence of making wines. It starts in the vineyards. It starts by farming families, and many consumers try to support farming families, and albeit if it's domestic farming families, or ones abroad. And I think the element of family, community, bringing it back to, the foundational aspects of how to make wine, and it starts with farming families.
I'm so happy that you remind us all about that because it seems to me that when you hear people talk about authenticity, right, how important authenticity is today to younger people, actually to all of us, I think, well, wine, that's authenticity. That's straight nature. That's straight into, as you point out, farming and families.
And it's in its purest sense too. Listen, there's a lot of discussion about putting ingredients on the back labels, and I think that's a good discussion because nearly all the wines have very little additives. If anything, it's SO2 in a very limited manner just to sustain the wine over time. But if you are a purist and you believe in authenticity, and they've been making wine since the Byzantine Empire. So I think it's important to speak about the strong historical purposes of wine through different societies. It was always a way of gathering people. And then you speak about the facts of authenticity, the fact that it originates in a lot of cases with families. And it is made to be shared by individuals, albeit if it's just a glass of wine when you're together and socially interacting over a dinner.
Yeah. Whenever I think about Wilson Daniels, I think about both Win Wilson and Jack Daniels, both of whom, well, I know Jack, and Win passed away a number of years ago. But I remember tasting with them when I was still in New York, of all things, the Domaine de la Romani Conti, the most famous wine in the world. And of course, now also Wilson Daniels continues to represent the DRC as it's known. Um, so undoubtedly, Rocco, you have had your share of DRC, you lucky person. I'm
Not nearly as much
wondering.
as Jack and Win probably did.
I believe it.
Right.
Knowing those two, I think you are
Yeah.
absolutely right. But I'm wondering, even thinking about other wines that you bring in and market and sell, a lot of them are among the greatest wines in the world. I'm wondering what you think makes for greatness in wine. Why is a wine great?
Well, I think a great deal of it comes down to its historical importance. You speak about Domaine de la Romani Conti, okay? And I'll start with Domaine de la Romani Conti. It was a farming family, the de Villain family, and then the Loire family, supporting these amazing Climat and Vin Romanée. Uh, I don't like to speak of the monetary correlation between the wine and society today, because in a lot of ways, in speaking with these families, they're humbled by the fact that these wines are so highly regarded. But in a way, I think they're concerned in the prices of these wines today. And are they being viewed as a product to be consumed? Or
Mm,
are they being viewed as a product to store and potentially sell? And that's their concern. Because these products, if you speak to Aubert de Blin, he'll speak about the vines as if they're his own children. And there's an attachment so deep. And it's not just the de Blin family. You could be speaking of the Gaia family from Piemonte. You could be speaking of the Lafleur family from Puglia-Marche, the Faveli family from New Saint George. I could go on and on and on. And these wines have been made for centuries, but the prices over the past 3 or 4 decades have escalated a great deal. And I'm afraid that we're losing sight of the importance of these wines, and it is to share these family experiences over centuries, and how important they've been in developing culture for wine and food, not only in France and Italy, but also in America.
Mm. So right. I mean, anyone who is a wine drinker who is over 35, let's say, knows that they had economic access, ironically, economic access to wines when they were younger that they probably couldn't touch today. And usually we think of any kind of a good as being more attainable the older one gets. But I'm sure most of the great wines that I drank, a lion's share of them might have been when I was younger than I am today, because the whole economic structure of the wine industry is so different. Um, but I know what
And
you mean about humility because I remember once. Um, moderating a panel just with Aubert de Villaine, just himself and me. And in the end, when all people in the audience, of course, they're drinking Domaine de la Romanée Conti wines, everyone clapped, so strongly. And he said, I'll take the applause for the vines, not for himself.
he's a very modest individual. He's contributed more for Burgundy than I think he has for Domaine de la Romanée Conti. And that's a testament to the man he is. And he's somebody that I'm referring to, but there are many others. Today Bertrand de Villaine, Perrine Fanel are running Domaine de la Romanée Conti with the same passion and breath that Aubert was breathing into those vines. And I
Mm,
could speak about the Gaia family, the Lafleur family, the Biondisanti family, but I think the most important aspect of wine, yes, its production cycle and growing cycle from the vineyards to the marketplace, very important. But I think the most important aspect to wine is the ability for people to get together, unite, and have experiences that they maybe wouldn't have been able to even imagine without a glass of wine and the camaraderie around the table.
mm. So beautifully said. That's what keeps us all on our gerbil wheel of loving wine because the joy of that is so significant. Rocco, thank you so much for talking with us today. It's been really a pleasure to see you, albeit over Zoom. But thank you for your thoughts and for that beautiful last few sentences.
Well,
Very
I
grateful.
appreciate it, Karen. Always good seeing you.
Same to you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks. Bye bye.